know some other people might join us as the time goes by, but we're at the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and start. Again, thank you for joining. If you are joining after the fact via on demand, thanks for being here as well. You can always get in touch with us via our phone number or info@xtivia.com if you're watching on demand. If you're here with us live today, thanks so much. We're going to get started, and just the agenda today. Everyone is muted. If you have Q&A at the end, we've got a chat and you can enter your questions there. We're going to do a welcome, a little bit about XTIVIA, introduce the speakers, talk a little bit about the evolution of Power BI, and then Tony and Sid are going to have a Power BI conversation with lots of Power BI nuggets around licensing. We're even going to touch on Fabric. And then thanks for coming and a little bit of a Q&A. About XTIVIA, so we've been around over 30 years. We started out, actually Tony's team was part of the initial kickoff of XTIVIA. We've grown over the years through acquisition, and we've added anything you can imagine in technology. So we like to say that if you can imagine a business outcome, XTIVIA can create it with technology. Our team size is about 300 people. We work out of Colorado Springs as the main office. That's where I am today. And I'll let Tony and Sid let you know where they are. We have a diverse client base, and we create custom solutions as well as managed services. These are some of the technologies that we touch on in everything from business solutions to data and insights, apps, testing, some of the big names, all the main databases, and we like to integrate core business processes to help you do your business while we help manage your technology. We do have onshore and hybrid teams, so we have a team that works out of India as well. All righty. And then we couldn't go by without mentioning database services. So our virtual DBA team does manage all main databases, and that really includes Sid's team. So we have managed services for BI reporting, architecture, and the like. So reach out if you have anything in the realm of IBM, Oracle, Microsoft. We're here for you. So let me tell you about these great guys that are here to chat with you today. Sid's been here almost 10 years. He's a senior BI architect. He is passionate about all things BI and reporting, and it's so fun to listen to Sid talk because he's just like passionate about it. He's worked with Power BI since its launch and other products in Microsoft like SSRS, and then other BI software like Cognos, Tableau, Jaspersoft, and more. Tony likes to refer to his job as herding cats. He's been in the business for over 35 years and at XTIVIA. This year's his 25th year at XTIVIA. So guys, thanks for being here. Do you want to tell them where you're coming from today and location-wise?
This is Tony. Hey, I'm from New Jersey. Physically, I'm in New Jersey. Mentally, I'm all over the place. And then Sid, do you want to let everybody know where you're hailing?
Yep, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. So I've been here for about 10 years, 10, 15 years at XTIVIA. I've been, I guess, I've dipped my hand, I guess, in different BI applications, and obviously Power BI is one of my favorite, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So,
thank you, guys. All righty, so I'm gonna dip out of here until the Q&A portion, and I'm gonna hand it over to Sid and Tony, and you guys get started on all things Microsoft Power BI.
All right, let's get started. So I think so before we kind of dived into our, I guess, the theme of the webinar, which is license depth, I want to kind of talk a little bit about the Power BI itself. So Power BI, its roots dig back into early years of Excel in the mid 2000s, I guess, like around 2005, 2006 era. Kind of basically, the birth was basically from Power Pivot. And the role of this was to kind of build the bridge between our analytics and, analytics in terms of your daily use case on Excel. So, the capability of taking a large data model and finally giving a tool to further slice and dice deep down to what business is performing is the reason of Power BI's inception. So, there's a lot to learn from in terms of the history of Power BI, but I think that's the kind of sums up. Can you go to the next slide?
So we're gonna try and keep this like a conversation where we're gonna go back and forth, but to be totally honest with you, Sid's gonna do most of the talking. So we're gonna kind of get rolling into this. And I mean, the first thing we want to kind of topic we want to hit on is what's the major difference between like the on-prem version of Power BI and the SaaS version? Sid, can you kind of fill us in on what's going on there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think before we kind of like think about getting a license or purchasing a license from Microsoft, or kind of deciding on basically what type of product we want to even go with, we kind of want to decide where our underlying data sits, right? So I think if you have your data architecture that is completely Azure presence, that's where software as a service comes in handy. Like, hey, I do not want to maintain a lot of things. But if you have everything on premise and there is no way for you to, and that could be multiple reasons, whether it could be a compliance related thing that you are still on premise, or it could just be, you have an infrastructure team that is just there doing what they do the best, making sure all of your systems are running correctly. So you have your Power BI on premise, and Power BI on premise is, I would say, like SSRS plus, right? So I think it kind of gives you that flexibility of designing the reports using Power BI desktop and being able to publish on your premise with complete control of how the subscription works, or how you can take a report and burst it out using a dynamic query for distribution purpose. Whereas Power BI software as a service package is hosted on Azure. There is a couple of different models within SaaS. I would say there's a capacity-based product, and then there is Power BI per user. Within per user, there is different Power BI license that Microsoft provides, which is Power BI on premise. I'm sorry, Power BI Pro and Power BI Premium. And of course, there's Power BI free edition as well. And some of these licensing terms and I guess the features are evolving every single day. And as we all know, Microsoft is really good at kind of taking a product and making changes to it and adapt the product to everyday needs. So they are doing a good job of that.
So I think next this kind of leads into what's the best fit for people, Sid. I mean, if they've got Power BI Premium, or is it Power BI per capacity? What are your thoughts on that for best fits?
So yeah, let's talk about that, right? So I think before we, like how we were talking about Power BI on premise or Power BI cloud, or however, software as a service, however you want to term it. The most important thing I think a business needs to actually kind of like do is try to understand and set their own goals. And the reason that is because they need to understand where they want to be down the road, not just for today, because it's always easier to solve the problem for today because we know what you need today. So where the confusion or where the problem comes is trying to envision the issue that you're going to encounter down the road. So we can, kind of like a hypothetically talk here. We have some client that we have talked to as well, where they have been using Power BI for long term, and they are realizing like, okay, hey, we chose this license, but maybe we should not be in that, we should not have used this license, or we are in this product, or we should not have been in this product. So what that comes to is like, okay, having a good plan at the end of the day, right? So what is your goal? Have a plan, have a timeline, and then once you have a timeline, of your deployment or anything like that, or your goal, set an agenda on how your execution is supposed to take place. And once that you had that, in order to determine what Power BI product that you need to do, you need to understand what is your data growth, right? So once you have a data growth, then you say, okay, our data growth is 25 to 30% a year, or it is my 100% a year. So it kind of tells you, okay, what is your goal in terms of retaining those data and in terms of analyzing data, because every data that you're collecting does not necessarily mean it's valuable. However, being able to go into that data and find that niche or sweet spot in those data is where basically the business can grow from, right? Because the main part of the business intelligence tool and data analytic tools is avoiding the noise, right? So we have different BI applications, like let's just kind of talk like whether it's Power BI or you have your Tableau or you have your SAS, and so they all do fantastic jobs. But in order for you to determine, okay, hey, I want this Power BI, that I want to go with this product. First, have a conversation with yourself, and then within your company, and then find out what is the best way to then implement it. And we're always there, for that conversation. If needed, you can reach out to us, and we can say, okay, hey, this is where you are, this is where you need to be, this is your data growth. We can calculate everything for you, and then come up with a recommendation of how how can we do a phase rollout, or how can we do something in order for us to kind of answer whatever the questions you have, and we're there for you. So
really planning ahead is what makes you decide what's going to be the best fit. You got to really look ahead and plan ahead for this.
Absolutely. I think planning, and what happens is, enterprise actually goes there. They said, hey, let's just try something. And then sooner or later, they start trying a Power BI product. They have then 5,000 different workspaces because everybody's building something while they are trying it. And then you have a chaotic model in which you really are not being able to distribute the data correctly, distribute the reports correctly. And everybody's, they have their own data dictionary, so there is no, data discipline. And before you choose, you kind of have to go ahead and start planning things correctly, and just, and especially in the enterprise scale, plan.
Right. So you really want to make these decisions all along the process, but up front, you want to have some good knowledge about how to move forward, so that, like you said, it's not spread all over the organization and totally messed up.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we were talking earlier, right? Power BI has different versions of license. You have a Power BI free version, so right, and then we'll probably talk about that here in a few minutes again. But kind of like when we go back to the licensing portion of it, it says product is free, and people start trying it. So what is the best way to try that product, even though it is free? Because once you start developing a report and start publishing these reports, what is the best practice to actually, even though the product might be free, we can actually.
Well, I mean, you raise a good point, right? Free versus paid. So that's kind of our next topic, I believe. So why should people ask, why should I pay for Power BI if there's a free version? Why should I pay for Pro, right? So do you want to kind of dive into that now, since you started talking about it?
So the beautiful thing about the Power BI product itself is, obviously Power BI has different product within Power BI Desktop, Power BI Report Builder, Power BI free version, which is the portal edition. And obviously a lot of developers, if you are a developer of any of these products, you can actually even deploy Power BI servers and everything for free. So or at least on the trial mode. So the main difference between Power BI free versus Power BI Pro is that Power BI Pro and Premium lets you kind of have a collaborative analysis of your reports and your data sets, right? So I think you develop a report on Power BI Desktop, you start publishing the report. And once you start publishing the report, what happens is, let's say, hey, I want to get a feedback. So you share the report. And once you get share the report, then the feedback that you're looking for comes to you. Then you can adjust these reports and start, taking the input from all of your colleagues and just, or even your clients, and then just making business changes. At the end of the day, the whole purpose of the business intelligence is gathering intelligence from your business operations. And based upon that, you are adjusting your business to kind of adjust the growth of it. So Power BI Free is a fantastic product for you to actually start diving into how the behavior of the Power BI can actually change, lets you adapt to different models or different design. How do you pass the report parameters? How do you kind of take the variables within your data model to create I guess, reporting, dashboarding, whatever you are geared towards, or even that raw data set that you are trying to distribute to different things. So that it's a good way to test drive a product. And just don't, let's make sure that the word test drive is a fully functional product. So you can go to Power BI desktop, download everything, publish into Power BI portal, and you can have access to the report you build, so you can actually see the data in a portal like what somebody else would be seeing it. So it's a fully functional product. It is not just like, you might not have all those features like sharing and the larger data sets that is available in Power BI Pro, but Power BI Free is a very good way to start at least your journey with Power BI. Started there. But then again, it kind of goes back to our earlier conversation, Tony, which is like, okay, just, if you start giving somebody, let's say 50 free licenses and everybody's trying to like be, trying to share these things, you're going to run into restrictions. So that's where the planning it comes in, like above anything else, because yes, you're trying to distribute a free license to a lot of people, but or they have access to a free license, they are developing, but they are not being able to share. So having that, planning phase will say, okay, after we have done this report, let's maybe change the Power BI license to Pro license, get a larger data set, analyze our model, and then kind of like, okay, adjust our business needs accordingly. So that's
so kind of the bottom line with the free version is you can develop it on your desktop, you can play it with it and learn it and create things with it. But if you want to share it with the person in the next office over, you either have to have them come over to your desk and look at it, or you have to kind of share some. I mean, how do you share in the free version? Is that even possible?
Free version, yeah, you can. So you can, obviously, there's a way to share using you can take a PBX file, you can put it in OneDrive or something, right?
Okay.
And then it downloads. There's obviously a way of sharing it around, but I think if you want to have access through a portal and want to share it to your business units, let's suppose you are in a marketing team and you want to share it to everybody in marketing, then the best way to do it is not through portal, but because what happens when you download all the PBX file and everyone will make a change and they try to push it, you do not know what version of changes you are being able to pull. So it kind of becomes
so with the Pro, but with the Pro version though, you can actually develop a report, publish it, and the person in the next office or in another state can just download it easily, and you don't have to worry about how to get it to someone else's desk and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about downloading the portion of it, it's just being able to access the report from the portal itself, right? Like obviously Power BI Mobile is free, right? You're not paying Power BI Mobile license, kind of like some of the BI or I guess data intelligence company like to share mobile product as a separate add-on, whereas here your Power BI Mobile comes with the license, and we are trying, they are trying to say, okay, consume your data the way you want at the end of the day. And when you consume the data the way you want, because at the end of the day, if you are in a company for a long time, you understand that business better than anybody else. So once, being able to kind of like use free tools to kind of make sure that help you make a better business decision, I guess. It's there, and Power BI Premium and Pro actually gives you a larger data set for you to analyze from. There's obviously different other features that's available with them that's not available in the free version. So I mean, and it's a very long list, and we can probably spend another 1.5 hours.
No, we don't want to do that. But the free version is really good to get it like jump started.
It's a good starting point, and we always recommend using it first to try the product. Go ahead, use what are the features available in Power BI desktop for you to actually start building that path or building that plan, and that plan and Power BI Free might come in, together at the end of the day, because once you start learning how to use the software, it's the best way to kind of make the plan. Hey, this is what it does. This is what it doesn't. So let's have a plan to add 5 users or 10 users or 1,500 users in a capacity model. Right? So I think it gives you that initial step that you are taking without risking anything, because there's no cost for you to start. So
okay, and you've mentioned licensing a couple times. And so really what we want to kind of get into is the whole point of this is, what's the best way for an organization to figure out what the best license is? Can you go over licensing a bit for everybody, kind of dive into that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is the most important part, and I cannot elaborate why this is the most important part, because like I said, XTIVIA has been in business for a long time, and we obviously were there to serve our clients. But what we do realize once, quite occasionally here actually is that clients usually choose wrong product and they regret it. And this is why this is, in order for a company to make a decision of what product they need to be in, there is obviously we have planning phase that we have already talked about. There is also, after the planning phase, you also have to understand what product you are getting in that planning phase. So, and that's where this portion of the conversation comes in, which is like, okay, in order for an organization to make it, like they need to understand like what is their total user that count, right? Because they need to do the calculation whether does it make sense to them to get a Power BI Premium per user, or does it make sense Power BI Pro per user? Do they want to stick like half the people in using Power BI free, or does it make sense for them to start using Power BI capacity based, or does it make sense for them to be under a Fabric umbrella and utilize Fabrics to of licensing model to kind of build this holistic data optimization as well as data marts and everything that comes under that umbrella. So I think kind of going back in terms of licensing, the best way for organization to actually make sure they're correct, kind of choosing the Power BI correct Power BI license is like making sure they have a plan in terms of where they are and anticipating their company or their enterprise to be in 4 or 5 years down the road. What is their data growth, right? Because why is data growth so important? Because in order for them, suppose hypothetically speaking, they are in Power BI on-prem and they do not have a lot of people to maintain that Power BI on-prem, and you have a large data set. So it kind of, if you're not maintaining and updating these products, it kind of becomes nightmarish in order to say, hey, I have 10,000 reports depending upon this product, but I can't maintain the servers and everything. So I would rather get a Power BI capacity license and just not worry about that part, but I want to focus on the business portion of it. So once we know what they are looking for, we can go there and tell them, hey, from what we can see, your strength is on having these things in the report building area or analytics area, but not necessarily on the systems area. So just let Microsoft do their part by hosting these things for you and just use the capacity base. Or you have 5 users. There's no reason for you to be in a capacity base. So just use Power BI Premium. And if you need help deciding Power BI Premium or Power BI Pro, Power BI Capacity, or or even a free product, we are there. Just give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to kind of like chime in, and just say, hey, we can come and just analyze your, what you have, what you need, what are your data sources? Does it make sense us to kind of like take the data source and kind of like manipulate that data source? We need to bring ETL tools like Azure Data Factory or SSIS, because we have done that for a client. We have actually some databases that has been updated since 1988. So, I mean, a long time. So especially, and how did we manage to put the modern 2024 release of Power BI on top of that? By having that layer that actually ingests the data and then, makes things a little bit easier for them. So because we understand data from ingestion process to all the way to consumption process, right? So
right. And just to be clear, like on the different versions, what's the main difference between on-prem and capacity? Is it just this is licensing your users on site versus in the cloud, or is it more than that?
Capacity, Power BI Capacity is a licensing model for the cloud, right? Microsoft say, hey, you can buy, I guess, compute unit, and then based upon the compute unit, they will sell you, what Power BI version you are getting on software as a service package.
Right, and you can go up and down with that a little.
Yeah, you have great flexibility there,
right.
Especially if you are, if you want to you're starting small and you want to slowly kind of ramp up because you're seeing that growth of adaptation of the product. Then it's good to. It's always good to start after planning, because that's when you know exactly the number of users you need and whether does it make sense for it to be in a capacity base or on premise, because you are saying, hey, I have 5 different servers and I want to install Power BI as a noded product. So I have node 1, node 2, node 3, or maybe in a node that there was a client we just recommended didn't put one of the node in a sleep mode. So what happens is they have a custom embedded product, and for the custom embedded Power BI, they cannot do a lot of update immediately, and there is some dependency on it. So they have one mode, Power BI, just sitting on sleep mode. So if something does happen, that mode automatically comes up and starts taking place of thing while the other version is getting the patches it needs.
And
so
is there a tipping point or something that determines whether on-prem's better or capacity is better, or is it just a matter of what your architecture is going to look like?
Yeah, I think the point that is the most important, do you want to maintain the product or do you want Microsoft to maintain it for you, right? So I think that that's the thing that you need to, because sometimes there's the resources it runs thin within an organization and they do need like multiple servers. So what is the best way to do? Just be in capacity and not worry about maintaining it or patching it or anything like that, and just use the capacity model, and it'll make things much easier for you.
Okay. And then, I mean, I know there's other versions, Pro and Premium. Is there like a simple statement on what the difference between Pro and Premium is?
So Power BI Pro and Premium, I mean, Power BI Pro, so if I have to just kind of like say one thing that comes right off to my mind between Pro and Premium, is the data set, right? So I think you have 100 terabyte data set limit in terms of Power BI Premium, whereas you have, I think, 100 gig on Power BI Pro. So it is a large or 10 gig, something like that. So it's quite small compared to what Power BI Premium provides.
Right. So it's again what you said earlier. It's about you got to think ahead. What's your data going to be? What's your data set going to be? What's your architecture going to be? And all that is kind of what matters most.
Yeah, and also what we can do is we can obviously go there and say, hey, let's start with Power BI Pro. There's no need to be Power BI Premium. And once we cross that threshold, let's think about updating. And there might be some user that might not need that, right? So I think our job is not to just kind of say, hey, we do Power BI. Our job is also to kind of educate the client at the end of the day on, kind of like industry practice and what's the best way to implement a product.
Right.
And everything. So.
Yeah, and we do that, to be honest, on the database side, on the cloud side. We do audits. What's the best pricing model? What's the best way to do it? Same with Power BI. You kind of need to look at your users and figure out what version is right for your architecture, your user base, your data set, and all that kind of stuff, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Did you cover everything you want to here? Did you want to talk about Fabric now?
So I think, yeah, let's talk a little bit about Fabric, because obviously I think it's really important to understand the licensing term. And I know Microsoft does have something called has introduced something called Microsoft Fabric about a couple of years ago. And Fabric is, you can think about as a large umbrella in which different Microsoft Power BI product comes in together, like in terms of data ingestion and in terms of consumption, right? So you have Synapse, you have your Power BI, you have Azure Data Factory, and so on. But there is Power BI has its own licensing, as well as Fabric has its own. There is some things that kind of collide together, in which Fabric gives you the capability of reusing the data model that you have already built. It lets you have kind of gives you performance optimization, right? So you have this one data set in one lake, and you can tap into that data as much as you want without having a data duplication related issue. And then you can say, take that data and have a great business analytics built upon it. And that's kind of important in the sense that having same thing done 5 times is not good for the business, because it's not really adding any value. It's having, you're just doing repetitive tasks and you're losing, its productivity is, goes down because you're doing, 5 people are doing exactly the same thing. But if you have that on the Fabric, you can take one data set, you build it, you publish it, and let everybody have access to it, and do, well, if they want to build a list, hypothetically speaking, a paginated report, or they want to kind of go and say, hey, I want to take this data set and I really want to start kind of find that that business point in which where we think we can tap into and drive growth out of our business, or kind of like more increase higher productivity or profitability, whatever your metric that you're looking for, you can you have one center location where you can go and get that thing. So that's the whole thing about having a storage where everybody can go and tap into, and it's a one truth location, rather than having everybody's different data models and data sets. So, and obviously with having everything, you cannot get your I guess security is going to be one of the things you'll always think of, and especially with everything that's happening nowadays, you can implement role-level security and whatever you need, whether it's basically you want to create a data set that only feeds data to a certain individual user based upon their email address or by their user ID, or you want to kind of give it create an intra grouping and then say, hey, I want this part of the data set fed to our marketing team or our executive team, whatever it is. It kind of gives you that flexibility of so you don't have to have same data set created over and over and try to kind of cater to a certain number of audience. And
Okay.
so yeah, I think optimized data models, and with the help of DAX and everything like that, you can write your own calculated fields and different expression as you need to. So then you have, because it is in Fabric, you have the capability of all these different tools being able to access, like Power BI. You can pick it up from there, develop the report on the portal, and let's go from there. And obviously, most of these features are available on the Power BI Premium in terms of advanced analytics and everything like that as well. So, and monitoring, and obviously we have our security and compliance thing, because as we know, like we have government units and stuff in the government Power BI government cloud that they use within XTIVIA as well. So we are compliant. They are compliant with with HIPAA and everything else as well. So
okay, so really it pays if you're thinking about using Power BI, is you got to look at the Fabric options as well.
Absolutely, yes, because especially if your goal is to take the data that you have and want to have a one center location where the truth resides, that's absolutely a fantastic product that at least that you at least think about considering while you are going to the path of implementing Power BI. Power BI cross your mind, I would like you to at least go ahead and start thinking about what Fabric provides you. And within Fabric, obviously there's some compute related licensing and stuff that that we can, and at the end of the day, this is we can sit. There's so many fragmentation of licensing model that we can actually have a customized solution from Power BI to Fabric to whatever needs that you have in terms of the database. Or does it make sense for us to just have a virtual machine and deploy a Power BI desktop and you start using it? So we are there. We are going to give the solution what only makes sense to you. We're not here to kind of like say, hey, you need to buy this and you not be using it. That's not
right.
What we're.
That makes sense. I think the next slide is we wanted to kind of just touch on really quickly the top business uses of Power BI. I mean,
yeah.
Do any of these come to mind for you, like that you've seen a lot with your clients? I mean, I know you do a lot of reporting, you do a lot of complex reporting for clients, but I mean, does any of these seem to be like the one that clients have the most hurdles with that you've worked on, or anything like that?
I think everybody is definitely moving to a real-time reporting, right? Everybody wants results right away, then and there. So there is nothing like nobody nowadays says, hey, give me what happened 6 years ago, right? Even though everybody feels like they need to understand trend, and for the last 10 years, COVID was such a big outlier for everybody's life that
right.
It threw that trend kind of like off. So yeah, I think data visualization, business intelligence, real-time reporting, collaboration is extremely important, because as companies are getting bigger and bigger, they need more collaborating power, and at least have help from the software to do the collaboration portion of it. And data integration, a lot of people have different data sources and they are migrating from different product. They might have half the databases in Oracle and the other half might be in MySQL, even though they might be under the same umbrella. So mobile accessibility whether you have reports, with the birth of iPad, everybody wants to do everything from iPad as well. And if I could, I would do everything from iPad as well. But yeah, I think custom visualization, being able to use Power BI's features of ours and custom Python script to write these visualizations and kind of at least do some complex machine learning as well as predictive analysis and stuff. So I think it's hard to kind of pick one of them, but
that's
I'm
fine.
sure all of them that they are going to be it's right now, give me everything. So
okay, no, that's good. Okay, thanks, Sid. I mean, thank you. Nice work.
Yeah.
So much good information. Really, so much good information. We have a couple of questions coming in from our attendees, and if you haven't gotten to enter your question yet, please do that now. And if for any reason we don't get to your question, we'll reach out with an answer. So the first one that came across that I thought is definitely needs addressing. So can you use Power BI with AWS or other hosting, or do you have to use Azure?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you can. You can. I mean, Power BI does have a capability of bring your own license. You take your license, spin a virtual machine on AWS, and you can get it going in 2 days. I mean, it's by 2 days, I'm obviously kind of exaggerating because we need to understand your business situation. But as long as the install process is complete, the Power BI is up. So you can definitely do that. The other thing is also you can use Power BI software as a service. You get a direct link to wherever your data is sitting on AWS, and if that's where you want to do that software as a service, that's capable. That's available as well. And also in Fabric, there's something called Shortcut that's now there. Shortcuts lets you have a basically like a virtual data source in which you can actually have data sources anywhere, and you can have access to it. So if you want to take Power BI to AWS, you can do that. If you want to use Power BI as a software as a service package, you can do that. Microsoft used to be known for being Microsoft kind of like ecosystem, but I think they have completely opened it up now. You can do whatever you want wherever you want. So
Awesome. Okay, thank you. So the answer is yes.
the answer is yes.
That's what I heard. The answer is yes. So we have another question from an end user. They're not in IT, but they work in their accounting department. And after purchasing Power BI license, is there some way to get training for the end user to help them be effective as an end user for training for Power BI?
Yeah, I think so. I think XTIVIA does have some training related thing. We have dedicated resources in which we can understand what you are trying to, how you are trying to build your things, because obviously we cannot say, hey, we don't do like a templatized solution, because we want to understand exactly what you're trying to accomplish, and we want to make sure that we are guiding you even in the training process of are you trying to use QuickBooks as a data source, or are you trying to use Oracle as a data source, or a SQL Server? So we can absolutely train you. So
awesome. And then I think you touched on this, but they asked, so can I start with the free version, then use Pro, and then go to Premium as we grow, or do we have to decide at the beginning?
No, you can absolutely. My recommendation is always start with free, especially if your company has not used Power BI or anything. Start with free, learn what it does, then go to Pro. I mean, being a steward of companies' information is obviously it's a good thing, I would think. So I mean, it's start with that. And if it says, hey, Power BI free does not do a lot of things for me, then upgrade to Pro, and Power BI Pro does not do, then go to Power BI Premium. If Power BI Premium is too small and your company is growing, go to Power BI per capacity. And if that is Power BI capacity is not actually answering your question, then you might think about why it is not answering the question, and you might want to think about Power BI on premise or something. So there is kind of like, even though Power BI, like we were saying earlier, Power BI on-prem and Power BI capacity, those are two different type of product. There's a lot of features that is compatible in terms of it's interchangeable. So it's there. It's just a different product because it's geared to a different audience. So.
Awesome. Okay, I do have one other question. How do they get the free Power BI onto desktop? Do they have to reach out to IT for this? They have a license. They purchased Nav 2017, but they haven't used it. So I think, I mean, I'll just say, I think we could probably answer that question in a quick call, but do you have an answer, Sid?
I think what we can definitely, especially if there's just some restriction of installing some softwares, right? Usually IT does put some blockade in terms of they don't let you, you install whatever you feel like. If there is no restriction put in terms of the Microsoft products, then you can go to Microsoft site and just be able to download Power BI desktop. I don't think you need to sign up for anything. I don't think Microsoft makes you sign up for anything for Power BI desktop. But yeah, we can more than, especially if you have some product that you have already acquired license but not used, I would definitely say get the, we can have that conversation and see why, or see even in NAV, we have business unit that deals with NAV. So.
Yeah, for a couple of you had questions that were specific. So if you want to reach out, info at XTIVIA.com, we can get the questions over to Sid, Tony, and the team. And there's obviously no obligation to just send in a question or get more information. So we'd love to help you out. Guys, thanks. This was great today. And I know, we touched on Azure and Fabric, and so we've got more webinars coming. We usually try for the third or fourth Thursday each month. Next month, it's going to be about databases and in the cloud. What does your DBA do now? And just really having a panel discussion about what's next when your database is in the cloud. Do you still need monitoring, etc.? So anything else to add, Tony, Sid?
Yeah, I do want to add, if you have something Power BI specific, we do have things on our website as well, right? So I think you can go to the website and find out what is the difference between these products, what makes sense. And if not, give us a call. I mean, it's just, we can have a conversation with you. I don't think there's any obligation to have a conversation. So I think we can start with the conversation and see if how we can help. So.
Yeah, well, thanks for your questions. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate your time, and we're going to end promptly before 45 minutes of an hour, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks again, Tony, Sid, for your help with Power BI today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.